South Africa is facing a growing human trafficking crisis, with criminal syndicates increasingly targeting children for forced labour, sexual exploitation and drug trafficking. Experts warn that porous borders, social media grooming and poverty are fuelling the scourge. Despite law enforcement efforts, resource constraints are making it harder to combat the problem. We're now joined from KZN by child rights activist Dr. Siyabonga Nzimande. Dr. Nzimande, always great to speak to you. How serious is the issue of human trafficking in South Africa right now?
Greetings to you, Hugo, as well as your viewers. I think it's not just a headline anymore, but it's becoming a crisis, and it's becoming a national crisis in a way that we are beginning to see different cases across the country of human trafficking increasing. And also, while we are still talking about that, I think there is a failure in government in terms of government becoming reactive rather than being proactive. When I got this invite to come and comment on this human trafficking topic and headlines across the country, it came across in my mind how active government and how proactive government was before when it came to issues of human trafficking, and how now we are only reacting because there are certain cases. We look at the case of a missing 6-year-old Jocelyn Smith, which is not an isolated incident. That incident alone is painting a lot of socio-economical issues that we need to address as a community, but we also need to address them not alone as civil society movements, but together with government. When parents are beginning to sell their children and traffic and be involved in trafficking their children, and when we are speaking about human trafficking, we're no longer talking about trafficking into a shipping container, but we are talking even into the next door neighbor. It is important that we continue to raise that awareness. So the problem is big and it's increasing, but I'm worried about the government response. I'm worried about government preventative strategies. I'm worried about no voice for children currently seem to exist within government where human trafficking is concerned.
Two issues I'd like you to touch on, Dr. Nzimande. One obviously is government and how much it's taken its foot off the pedal, so to speak, around dealing with issues and more proactivity around child trafficking. But you also raise the issue of trafficking is happening literally in our own backyards. You know, it could be a neighbour. Just walk us through some of those symptoms.
In terms of our communities and how children are not being protected and neglected in communities, it has become pretty much easy for somebody to begin to come up with certain ideas in that particular community where they will be able to take a child and away from the parent, and the parent will not be able to know where the child is, or whoever is the guardian of the child. So it's really beginning to talk into systems of our own communities and how communities are actually playing an active role in protecting children. And with that not being there and not being present, the protection of children, then the exploitation of children could be trafficked for rituals which are not, they will be called traditional rituals, or forced labor, or actually into sex trafficking. But that could not just now be happening because we are thinking these children have been transported further away. It's just happening even within communities that we are living in. So it actually it brings us to a point of we need a justice system that is going to play its role in community level, not just at going to the police station, but actually coming to do more awareness and protection within communities. So that actually needs a coordinated effort, and it also does need us to begin to put more emphasis on government to look at how is it that this is happening more now, but we are not seeing more visible programs, and which departments. It's not just the Department of Justice, as I usually say, and I'll sound like a stuck record on this one, because it's becoming very tiring that we are only speaking to one department. We are talking to South African Police Services. Where's social development? Who's protecting kids when they're walking to school? We've seen through the UNAIDS Education Plus initiative, where they were talking about how to keep children in school and completing school. And what could threaten that children could stay in school is the issue of security and children not feeling safe within their own communities. So this is going to really need us to go back again to what worked for us. Look at 2010 World Cup. We were able to report less numbers of human trafficking even within our own communities because we thought it was a time where we were on the spot, visitors were coming. But are we only willing to protect our children when visitors are coming, or are we willing to do it in a longer scale as well for the impact of our children?
Well, you speak of government, and when you look at the tier list on trafficking of children in particular, South Africa is on at tier 2, and they say that a high or increasing number of trafficking victims is one of the attributes to level 2, if you will, lack of evidence showing efforts to combat trafficking. So obviously there's plenty of work for the government to do. But what are the most common methods traffickers are using to lure children?
It will be items and flashing things that are flashy to our children. It will be, hey, there's a casting agency, we're looking to do a TV advertisement. These things that are very catchy to children. And when we used to do human trafficking awareness in schools, we will actually demonstrate that in an assembly format where we go into a school and say, hey, who want to be on TV? There is a show and we are shooting this afternoon. I'm looking for 5 people who are interested. And you'll see the amount of children that will want to run to the stage and say, please pick me. It's easy as that. So it's very important that we go back again in raising awareness on those strategies and tactics that are currently happening within our communities. Promising children who are living in poor underprivileged communities a better life and saying, hey, we've got other relatives of yours that will want to live with you. This is a case that I was dealing with in eThekwini, where a child was just 9 years old, was also trafficked, and it was just a conversation of saying there's a better home for you rather than where you are living. So it's really important that we go back and look at what is a child-friendly way that we can introduce this type of education to our children so that they become more aware. Seemingly, we might need to use the children themselves as a tool to fight human trafficking rather than parents, and some communities as parents and seem not to be vigilant enough. Community members seem to have lost the plot of saying it takes a village to raise a child. When we see a 3-year-old running on the street, no one is concerned. Crossing the road, no one is concerned. As young as 2-year-old, I get shocked when I visit some of these communities and you go into informal settlements and you see small children just not under supervision and neglected. So it's important that we might need to use that tool of raising awareness and actually you looking at child-friendly tools that are going to be tailor-made for children so that they become vigilant as well.
Now, something that plays a significant role is social media in child exploitation. How is social media abused in this regard?
Social media abuse, as you have seen, even with the issue of pornography cases and it becoming more prevalent. And we also need to ensure that we are becoming vigilant and also teaching parents and raising awareness to children to look at how do we ensure that we don't expose our children to age inappropriate content on social media, but also when do we introduce social media to our children, which is age appropriate? How do you ensure that the tool or the gadget that your child is using is secured enough that you as the parent get a notification before your child can even download even a WhatsApp for something that simple, or any app, because you can lock your child's phone. But sometimes children get access to even our cell phones where it's like, can I play a game? But they are not being supervised to actually see what is exactly happening within that cellular phone. So it's quite important as well that we're becoming more vigilant, but also the use of social media for children must be age appropriate and actually must be under supervision at all times to ensure that children are not becoming exploited in ways that we are unaware of.
Now, final thoughts, Dr. Nzimande. Let's talk about life sciences. You know, one of the classes that learners take in school in South Africa. And obviously, biology is one of those conversations. And sex and sexuality. Is it an important aspect to the curriculum to have issues around how do kids themselves protect themselves from instances of possible human trafficking?
It should. That's why we emphasize even the introduction of age-appropriate scripted lessons in school. And we advocated for that, and it is currently being implemented, but not across at certain schools, and it's not being properly supervised. And we hope that those which were working provinces that were under the Global Fund project were privileged enough that there was enough supervision of life sciences or life skills in schools, and also the comprehensive sexuality education that includes age-appropriate scripted lessons that talk at all of those issues, because sexual grooming is one of those things. The use of social media is one of those lessons. Human trafficking is one of those lessons. And inappropriate touching, even when it's sexual exploitation that is happening within the family. It's something that we have to be comfortable enough when we look at the numbers of children that are being exposed to abuse. We have to be comfortable enough to say we need these lessons in school, and we need to make sure that our school government bodies are supervising that this is being implemented. We're not finding mathematics taking priority than life skills or life sciences or comprehensive sexuality education, which is quite a comprehensive package that is given from primary right through high school to our learners to raise awareness on such issues. And we must applaud the Department of Education for implementing them, but we are saying not alone. We still need other stakeholders to come on board to raise awareness even in schools. South African policies visit our schools and raise awareness on human trafficking. Government support our NPOs that are currently going out there to our communities, because NPOs right now are being stranded without lack of funding, lack of support, and also SGPs making some some rules to say, no, we can't allow you to come to school. We need to open our schools and our communities enough to these resources so that we can be able to reduce this. I want us to eliminate it, to talking about elimination of human trafficking within our communities.
And that's a clarion call from Dr. Siyabonga Nzimande, child rights activist, that we need to eliminate child trafficking in this country. And he argues that government is being reactive and not proactive, as at times of old, literally having taken the gas or the foot off the pedal, if you will. And he argues that many parents have a responsibility, as some of them are neglecting their children in various communities.